Ready?
Ready, steady.
Let me just, is your microphone on? Let me just check. Yes.
Cool.
Let's run. Ready? So, I'm here today with Chris Flynn, founder of Team Health Performance, based in Cardiff, which are a health and wellbeing company focused on increasing the health and well-being of corporations around Cardiff. Let's take it away from Team Health Performance. Let's go more on your background, your life, and how you can inspire the next generation of people looking to do something similar to what you're doing.
Okay.
So the first question is, obviously you've lived a very almost incredible life.
Okay.
What would you say is something that nothing could have prepared you for? No mentor, no book, no material of learning. What is something that no one could have prepared you for in life?
So it's quite an easy one for me in many respects. The thing that stands out the most is just how much discomfort is a teacher. And you can't learn discomfort in a book, in a podcast, and a YouTube series. You have to experience discomfort for yourself. And what do I mean by discomfort? Well, for me, joining the military at a young age, discomfort was physical. It was very physical. You know, obviously joining the military, everybody understands that there's going to be a huge physical component to it. But what I didn't, I suppose, anticipate was just how much that was going to teach me about me. You know, so even the physical discomfort, the removal of, nice things that we have, warmth, food, buildings, clothing, just being dry, that's something that we take for granted. And when that's removed from you, your true character starts to shine. So one of my messages to, I suppose, everybody, but certainly younger people, in a very comfortable world, is practice discomfort. And they might ask me, well, how do you do that? The first place is physical. Start with physical discomfort, see how uncomfortable you can make yourself, and see how you show up during that. And then as you get better at that, you build confidence in yourself, you start taking more steps towards uncomfortable things. And then to kind of finish the answer, I suppose, the most uncomfortable thing I've done so far in my working life has been start another business. So it's a very uncomfortable thing because you really learn what you're not good at very, very quickly. And it's an uncomfortable place to be, but I think during that's when you're growing the most.
So one of the biggest problems that people have, especially young people, is actually getting started. You know, the best time to start was yesterday, right? So you actually experiencing discomfort and almost putting yourself out of your comfort zone. Do you reckon that increases the chance of you starting, and almost that not giving a fuck mentality, almost risking it, that risk mentality? Do you reckon achieving discomfort from an early age and trying to put yourself outside your comfort zone as much as possible, do you reckon that helps you achieve and takes that next step?
100%. It's a habit. It's been a habit from a young age, was always doing things that scared you, that made you uncomfortable. It becomes habitual. So you can live a life of comfort, and the idea of then changing will be difficult because you've always lived a perpetual life of seeking comfort. Whereas those who do the opposite, who are always seeking uncomfortable things, when an opportunity arises, a door opens, an idea comes to mind, you think, well, yeah, I'd like to do that, but it's going to be hard and it's going to be uncomfortable. Like, you already have that strength of character. You're already in that forward motion, and it's not as big of a task for you if you've already been outside of your comfort zone.
Got you. And my next question then is, obviously you joining the military at 17, big step, right? It would have taught you more than probably, any book or any mentor could have. But in terms of self-belief, I talk a lot about creating your own chair in a table full of people that are so much more experienced than you, got so much more almost net positivity than you. What does self-belief look like in your head, and how do you overcome the stereotype, especially as a young person? If you're a young person today, obviously you've lived a life, so if you were back in your younger self with the knowledge and what you have now, what does self-belief look like, and how can you back yourself more?
Okay, so if you go back to 1999 when I joined up, when I was your age, the whole idea for teenagers, guys, specifically thinking about myself, the whole idea around self-belief wasn't as well talked about. There's a lot of discussion now about self-belief, because of social media. These conversations are had, podcasts, lots of books. Those kinds of things were very, very scarce back then. So you wouldn't have gone into something thinking about self-belief as much as perhaps someone would these days. But in order to answer the question, how did I back myself? It always came back to physical for me. I was a very physical young man, and that's the one thing I could always rely on, because that was where I was most comfortable, was being physical. So obviously in the military you have an output for that. In an office environment, not so much, but in the military you're encouraged to be very physically mobile, active. That's what I did. So I just did as much of that, and it was very competitive. There's lots of other guys in your peer group that are all trying to be very physical too. So my answer to that was always to try and be the best physical version of myself. And that stood me in good stead, and during that process I just learned so much about myself. At a younger age, perhaps I wasn't that academic, and I became more and more academic as I got older, started reading a lot more and investing in stuff like that. But in my earlier years it was just go physical, go and play as many sports as possible.
So obviously, do you think then that you're almost backing yourself and mentally, because obviously, like you said, in the office and starting out as a businessman or a businesswoman, it's not all physical.
No.
There's a lot of mental preparation, there's a lot of mental resilience. Do you think there's a clear association with physical performance and mental performance?
100%, mate. And this is one of my messages in my business, is that we can't be optimum mentally if the body is not optimum physically. Most of the communication that goes between body and mind goes body to mind or body to brain via vagus nerve. 70% of the traffic between your brain and your body is going from the body to the brain. So your brain is listening to how your body feels, how it operates, and it's responding accordingly. So if the body is in disarray, poor mobility, pain, lack of blood flow, maybe you're in the wrong branch of your nervous system because you're often stressed or anxious, you don't have the right nutrients, you're poorly slept, underhydrated, so on and so forth. If your body is experiencing that, your brain is also experiencing that. So they're not separate systems. They are mutually supportive.
And would you encourage someone to join a sports team, or almost make sure that they're as physically active as possible if they were also looking to start off a business? So like, I go to the gym every morning at 6 o'clock because that's my form, and I also play football, so that's my form of team building and almost talking to people on my own level, but also getting up and having that almost endorphin rush and all of these amazing things that come from exercise. Would you encourage anyone who really is passionate about starting out and wants to start out a business to be as physically active as possible?
100%, mate, 100%. And I'll start with, the business landscape has changed, obviously over the last couple of decades, and long gone are the days where you can be, what we used to call fat cats, big cigars, overweight, drinking wine and brandy, calling the shots. It's like, to be a business owner today, you have to wear multiple hats. As you know yourself, there's lots and lots of things to do. And you have to lead yourself before you can lead others in business. So in order to do that, I think if you don't have physical energy, you're going to struggle. You know, it's a very energetic landscape to be an entrepreneur these days, to be a successful one anyway. So, you know, in order for you to remain energetic, you have to be physically energetic. And we know that movement generates energy, sedentary lifestyle takes energy. So those with the most energy are those that create it through movement, you know, exercise being the most obvious form. But I would say it doesn't need to be exercise or fitness. You know, it could be if your diet's in check and you've got a good relationship with alcohol, you know, just walking every day is fine. Go walk the dog, walk around the park. You don't have to go and sculpt muscles in a gym. There is a lot of benefit to lifting and all the hormones associated with lifting weights, resistance training, but actually just movement outside ideally is just the best form of energy production for you as a system, an operating system as a person.
Okay. And my last question is, so obviously I've mentioned a lot about your life and the wonderful life that you've lived, but is there one thing that you've carried through your life, maybe from that 17-year-old almost young man going into the military to where you are now, one almost motto, one sentence that defines your life, and one thing that you want to preach as much to the young lad that's starting out again?
Yeah, there is, and it only really came to me since we were speaking this afternoon, and so I appreciate, you know, you asking the question, Finn, and it's a question that was always niggling away. Perhaps if you asked me to articulate it back then, I wouldn't have been able to say it as fluently, but it was, is there more to life than this? Has always been a question going on the back of my mind. Is there more to life than this? And I asked that question more seriously in my early 30s, where coming back from Afghanistan. And I asked that question. I said, looked up and I said, is there more to life than this? Is there more going on than meets the eye? Or is it just this life and a box of worms at the end of it under the ground? And when I asked that question seriously for the first time, I got the answer. And as I then began to read, and I'm a man of faith, I'm a Christian, it's the greatest guiding light in my life today. Matthew 7:7 says to seek is to find, to ask is to be given the answers, to knock is to have the door opened. And I started asking questions, and as reliably as the Matthew 7:7 says, the answers started coming, you know, and I thought, well, I can't refute that, you know, I don't know what to do with that. So I investigated more and more, and it turns out there is more to life than this. And if you have an open heart and an open mind and you want to know, he will speak to you, you know, just like he did for me. So that's been the thing that's kind of governed my life from a very, very young age.
And would you say the principles and, you know, all the teachings in Christianity have almost shaped your business model and your perception of business and perception of achieving? Would you say that that is being shaped and dictated by your relationship with God?
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. You know, it's who I speak to first thing in the morning. Before I speak to my wife or my daughter or my friends or my business partners, I speak to God, you know, through prayer, and he speaks back through his word, and in many other ways he speaks back. And it is my God-given purpose is why I started THP. It's what he put me on the earth to do right now. I believe strongly, and have a number of reasons to back that. But yeah, I consult with him, and it's my faith that drives everything. I'm a different person since I met God. I'm a completely different person.
And my last question is that people always struggle to find their why, almost to find their... So you said your purpose of starting THP was that message. People are always waiting to find the message, find their purpose, finding their why. How does that clash with just getting started? Because people find it's so hard to get started because they're searching for their why, or searching for their real, almost their excuse to start something. They're waiting for something to happen which triggers them to go. In terms of just going, what is your almost perception of that?
So I would say to someone who is feeling like they they wanted to do something more. You know, there's that burning desire. Some people are perfectly happy where they are, and that's perfectly fine. For some people, perhaps like you and I, there's this burning desire in their belly that they want to do something more. They want to make an impact. They have something to give to the world that they want to show off. And sometimes that's very clear and you can run towards it. And then sometimes it takes a while to figure that out. So I would say in the meantime, while someone might be trying to figure that out, is whatever you're doing right now, do it to the utmost ability that you have within you. Is to do it to the best. Leave nothing behind, and do it with 110%. Whether you're cleaning toilets in the cinema, whether you work in McDonald's serving burgers, whether you're whatever it is you're doing, do it to the best of your ability there and then. And I think in the doing of that, it generates enough creative energy for you to move on to the next thing. If you're like, well, I'm designed for bigger things, I'm just going to kind of fob this off and give 50% to it, that thing will never really materialize, because you need to make this thing materialize before this door opens, you know. So if you're, you know, sat in your place of work, in your, you know, school, in your college, and you're thinking, I want to do something, do what you're doing right now like your life depends on it. Do it a maximum 110% and see what happens, because the world has a way of opening up to people who do things to the best of their ability.
Great. Thank you very much.
Top man. Cheers, Finn.